Okay, picture this. You're on a quiet mountain peak, middle of the night, totally serene. Then suddenly, boom, it's not moonlight. It's these radiant beings, not human. And they've got armies with them. What are they doing there? What's the message?
That's a perfect way to set the scene for what we're digging into today. We're going deep into this ancient Buddhist text, the Āṭānāṭiyasuttaṃ. And it's not just, any old scripture. It's this amazing story of the Buddha meeting these really powerful supernatural beings. And it all leads up to this unique protective chant.
Right, okay, so let's unpack that. Our source for this whole deep dive is just this one text, the Āṭānāṭiyasuttaṃ. And our mission, really, is to get inside this specific story, understand what this Āṭānāṭiya protection is all about, why it was needed, and I guess explore these kind of surprising interactions between humans and, well, non-humans that it describes. I think there's a shortcut to understanding some really fascinating ancient ideas.
Exactly. So the story kicks off pretty peacefully, actually. The Bhagava, that's the Buddha, is just staying on Jīchaka mountain in Rajagaha. It's nighttime. Quiet. And then things get dramatic.
Okay, dramatic how? Sounds like, something big is about to happen. Who shows up and how do they arrive?
Oh, it's big, all right. You get the four great kings. These are major figures, the Terateho, Viruho, Virupako, and Vessavaṇa. You might also know Vessavaṇa as Kuvero. And they're not alone. They come with these huge entourages, armies, really, of Yakkhas.
Yakkhas. Those are like nature spirits, sometimes kind of fierce.
Yeah, sort of powerful spirits, sometimes giants. Then you have Gandhabas, celestial musicians, Kumbhsiyas, and Nagas, the serpent beings. The text really makes a point of their presence. They set up protection all around, guards and screens, the whole deal, and they're so radiant, the whole mountain just lit up.
Wow, okay. That's quite an entrance.
Yeah.
So how do these powerful kings and their armies actually interact with the Buddha? Is there like a standard greeting?
Well, that's what's interesting. There isn't one standard way. It's really diverse. Some come up and pay respects properly. Some just exchange, pleasantries. Others just make a respectful gesture, like a bow from afar. Some state their names, maybe their titles, and some just sit there silently.
So a whole range of reactions.
Exactly. It really shows you these aren't just a uniform block. They're individuals, different beings with different maybe levels of respect or interest.
It definitely feels like more than just a social call, though. You mentioned Vessavaṇa Maharaja. He actually has something specific to say, right? A complaint.
He does. Vessavaṇa steps forward and addresses the Buddha directly. He says, look, some Yakkhas are cool with you being here. They're pleased. But the majority, he says, especially the high-ranking ones, the noble ones living out in the forests, they are not happy. They're displeased.
Displeased? Why? What's their beef with the Buddha?
Well, Vessavaṇa lays it out pretty clearly. It's because the Buddha teaches abstinence, specifically from 5 things: killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and intoxicants that make you careless. And the thing is, most Yakkhas, according to Vessavaṇa, don't abstain from these things. It's just not their way. So they find the Buddha's whole teaching, his whole vibe, unpleasant, disagreeable. It clashes with their nature, their lifestyle.
Ah, okay. So it's like a fundamental conflict of values almost.
Yeah.
Their way of life versus the path the Buddha is teaching. Fascinating. So given this friction, this displeasure from many of the Yakkhas, what does Vessavaṇa actually want the Buddha to do? What's his proposed solution?
He makes a very specific request. He asks the Buddha to learn and then pass on something called the Anaya-rekas, the Anaya protection. The purpose is crystal clear. It's for the safety, the protection, non-violence, and just the peaceful living of the Buddha's disciples. The monks, the nuns, the lay followers who often meditate or live in remote places, exactly where these grumpy Yakkhas hang out.
So it's like a protective spell or chant, specifically to shield his followers from these potentially hostile beings.
Essentially, yes. A supernatural safeguard requested by a supernatural king.
And the Buddha. How does he react to this pretty unusual request?
Simple. Silent agreement. No words, just acceptance. It's quite a powerful image, really.
Okay, so the Buddha agrees silently. What happens then? Does Vessavaṇa just hand over the instructions?
He starts reciting it right then and there. The Āṭānāṭiya protection. And it begins with paying homage. Respects to Buddhas of the past names like Vipassi, Sikhi, Vessabhu, Kakusanda, Konagamana, Kassapa, and of course to the current Buddha, Gautama, who's also called Agarasa in the text. It praises his wisdom, his conduct, how his teaching removes suffering. It grounds the whole thing in this lineage of enlightenment.
Right, establishing the authority. Then what? Does it get into the actual protection part?
Yes, it then systematically goes through the 4 directions, naming the great king who guards each quarter and the types of beings associated with them.
Okay, walk us through that. Who's where?
All right, so in the east, the Purimadisa, you've got King Petaraho. He's the lord of the Ganhabas, the celestial musicians. The text notes they enjoy dancing and singing.
Okay, east is Gandhavas.
South?
South, Taki the Disa, that's King Viruho. He's the lord of the Kumbinches. And guess what? They also enjoy dancing and singing.
Sensing a theme here. West?
West, Pachimadisa, is King Virupako, lord of the Nagas, the serpent beings. And yes, also enjoys dancing and singing.
All right, all right. And the north, that's Vessavaṇa's territory, right?
Correct. North, Uttaradisa, is King Kuvero, or Vessavaṇa. He's the lord of the Yakkhas. And keeping the pattern, he also enjoys dancing and singing. But here's a really striking detail that's repeated for each of these 4 kings.
What's that?
Each one is said to have 91 powerful sons, and they're all named Inda. In the Nama, the text says 91 Indas per king. And these sons, too, bow respectfully to the Buddha from afar.
91 sons named Inda for each king. That's a lot of Indas. Wow. It paints a picture of immense power and, I guess, lineage. It really does. A vast supernatural structure. The chant also throws in some cosmic geography, mentions where the sun rises and sets, talks about oceans or rivers. And interestingly, it briefly mentions some negative human stuff associated with the East backbiters, murderers, thieves, deceivers. Just states it as part of the landscape almost.
Okay, so it lays out this cosmic map with guardians. But you said the north, Kuvero's domain, gets extra attention in the chant.
It does. It goes into much more detail about the north. It describes this beautiful region called Uttarakuru near the great Mount Mahameru. The people there sound, well, idyllic. They're non-possessive. They don't need to... Farm rice just grows naturally for them, fragrant, ready to eat.
Sounds nice. Like a kind of paradise.
Very much so. It contrasts sharply with the usual human toil, right? It's presented as this ideal place.
What else does it say about Kuvero's realm? Any special features?
Oh, yeah. Transportation is unique. It mentions people riding on one-hoofed animals, but also on women, men, maidens, boys, like they serve as vehicles. And Kuvera himself has divine chariots and palanquins. Then there are his cities, described as being built in the sky, cities like Āṭānāṭiya, Kusineta, Markusnet.
Sky cities. Okay, that's definitely not your average kingdom.
Not at all. His main capital is Akamanda. There's another one, Visaj, which is apparently why he's also called a Vessavaṇa. It mentions specific places, like the Dan Lake, where rain clouds supposedly come from, and the Bagalavati Assembly Hall, where the Yakkhas meet.
It sounds incredibly vivid. Lush, too.
Very. Describes ever-fruitful trees full of all kinds of birds, peacocks, cranes, cuckoos, even mythical ones like the Javanya Bavaka, parrots, starlings. And Kuvera has this beautiful lotus pond. It really paints a picture of splendor and abundance.
Okay, so we have this amazing realm described and this protective chant invoking its rulers. But how does the protection actually work? What happens if some malevolent non-human does try to mess with a disciple?
Right, the enforcement mechanism. The chant is very specific about this. If a non-human Yakkha, Gandhaba, it does actually. It acknowledges that some non-humans are so fierce, so unruly, they don't care about the great kings or their authority. The text calls them outlaws of the great kings. It even compares them to great thieves operating against the king of Magadha, like major criminals outside the established system.
Okay, so there are rebels even in the supernatural world. So if one of those attacks a practitioner and the general protection isn't enough, what's the next step? What does the chant tell the person to do?
This is crucial. If a malevolent being persists, the instruction is to complain, lament, and cry out, basically. Call for backup. But you don't just shout into the void, you call out to a specific long list of powerful Yakkha generals and commanders, Sanapatina Mahasanapatina.
A list of generals.
Yeah.
Like calling in the supernatural cavalry.
Exactly. It's like a peeling up the chain of command in the unseen world.
And it actually names them.
Oh, it names a lot of them. Big names like Inda, Soma, Varun, Aradvaja, Pajapati, but also many others, Kandana, Kamasioho, Kinufanshu, Nikant, Panaro, Upamanyo, Devasuto, Matali, Sitaseno, the list goes on and on. Nawaraja, Yanosapo, Satajiro, Hemajato, Puncho.
Wow. Okay, you don't need to list it all, but that's incredibly detailed. What does that tell us? That sheer specificity.
It suggests, I think, a really structured view of this unseen world. It wasn't just vague spirits. It was imagined as this complex hierarchy, almost like a celestial bureaucracy or military structure. Knowing the names, calling on specific generals, it implies a system you could interact with, appeal to. It wasn't just random chance. There was an order, even if unseen.
Right, a way to navigate it almost. So after Vessavaṇa recites this whole detailed chant, explains the rules, the hierarchy, what happens next with the kings?
They basically say, okay, we've got stuff to do. They declare they have many duties, many responsibilities, and then they depart. Along with their massive armies, they leave just as dramatically as they arrived, apparently.
And the Buddha. The next morning, after this extraordinary night,
He gathers his bhikkhus, his monks, and tells them everything that happened. He recounts the whole visit, Vessavaṇa's request, the entire chant, and then he gives them a direct instruction. Learn this Āṭānāṭiya protection. Master it. Remember it. He explicitly states its benefit for their safety, their protection, for nonviolence, for their peaceful dwelling, especially in those remote spots.
so he fully endorses it and wants his followers to use it.
Absolutely. He integrates it into the tools available for his disciples' well-being.
Okay, so reflecting on all this, we've gone from this pretty wild nocturnal encounter with cosmic royalty and their armies to this incredibly detailed protective chant, revealing this whole complex cosmology, the rules of engagement between humans and non-humans. It's quite a journey just within this one text.
It really is. And it gives you such a unique window, doesn't it, into how, at least this tradition, conceptualize the unseen world and how to navigate it safely. It's way beyond just simple superstition. It shows this deep thinking about different kinds of existence, different motivations. I mean, even Yakkhas being annoyed because teachings mess with their lifestyle. It's something very relatable there in a strange way.
Yeah, that point about them finding the teachings disagreeable because it cramped their style.
Yeah.
That does resonate, doesn't it? Resistance to change, resistance to discipline, maybe that's universal. And the description of Āṭānāṭiya, that sort of perfect northern realm, shows an ideal people were holding on to.
Exactly. It highlights the importance of context, too, for understanding these practices. They arose from a specific worldview.
Definitely. So as we wrap up, maybe something to think about. We live in this age of just constant noise, information overload, digital chaos, right? What kind of protection, what kind of filters do we look for our own minds, our own well-being? And could there be maybe unexpected insights for living peacefully today, even in wisdom that comes wrapped in these, let's say, fantastical ancient forms? Just a thought to leave you with.